Welcome to the Torchlight Network. This is Dave Horwedel. The Torchlight Network has been doing a series of interviews on business leaders and other professionals to find out how they are successfully coping with the rigors of the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting governmental regulation. Today we have on the show author Chaz VanHeyden. So Chaz, how is it going with you for COVID-19?
I am surviving, and I'm doing quite well, I think.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. And how are you surviving? What are you doing to make things go in the right direction for you?
Well, as you know, authors quite often work from home. They have an office in their home, and I'm no different. I do enjoy my own schedules, sometimes very arduous and sometimes very easy. They go 50-50 usually. One way I am getting through this period of stress and carefulness, let's call it, is I am abiding by the laws that are out there, wearing face masks, when close to people or keeping distance. I'm not that way when I'm walking down the street by myself or when I'm exercising. But I do have this to say, and that is for those who are watching this or listening, we've been through all kinds of stressful times, and we essentially we'll get through it. That's the thing. We'll get through it if we just keep our sense and don't go into a dispersal or fear of the repercussions of a virus that we don't have an answer for yet.
Well, fair enough. Now, I was interviewing one author on the show a while back, and I remember that he was very he made the point that a lot of people are at home without a lot to do, so they look at their emails and they might look at videos that you send out. So, I mean, have you found any advantage, that something you've been able to turn to your advantage about people having more time to read, perhaps, anything like that?
Well, right you are, David. What I have done is I've put my books up on smashwords.com, and I have sent out volumes of emails and gotten good responses. People want to read during the summer or anytime, but this summer, most people want to go out boating, swimming, bicycle riding, camping, and they're not allowed to do that in many cases. And I said, you know what? A good book is never at a loss to entertain. So why don't you try my books as a new author? Try me out on Smashwords, and I got quite a great response. So in that respect, it was very successful.
Well, excellent. That sounds pretty good. Now, I understand you like to write about a lot of different genres, different topics. Is there anything you would advise a fledgling author to what they should do when they start? Anything like that?
Well, truthfully, it's something that Benjamin Franklin told his daughter at the age of 14 when she asked him what I should write about. And he said to her, quote, "You should write about yourself because you know more about yourself than anything else right now at your age." Well, I took this to an expanded level, and I've done much research. I'm probably a scholar in 3 or 4 different fields. And so my books are on things that I've experienced, I've studied, I've researched, and not just, pie in the sky, theoretical things. And I think most of my books proved out to be worthwhile for reading because of that.
Well, that's a very legitimate point. Because if you have people that are right, if you write about something that you know about and you care about, that comes through. And if you're just, bullshitting, I couldn't think of a word to change it for, but just bullshitting about something that you know nothing about, what's going to happen is that the people reading it, they may not even know that you're bullshitting, but it just doesn't seem very interesting because it doesn't have that same flavor of truth. Like I'm a tax professional, and I've had people write content for me at various times that were quote unquote professionals, and their content was like pablum. They would be writing about something, but who cares? I remember one of these guys, he was a very good, computer guy, and web developer and stuff, and he thought he was going to help me out with some articles, and so he had this article about, employee business deductions. Very rarely does anybody have employee business deductions. In fact, they no longer exist. They've been canceled out by the Donald Trump Tax Act. But even when they did exist, nobody was using them. And but I know what people are interested in, and I know what I'm interested in. How I would do to save people money on taxes. So I can write about something that I know about and that I have a qualified opinion of. And somebody who doesn't, they'll come up with strange ideas. So any particular thing that you're writing about right now that people should hear about, or that they should maybe you want to discuss one of your books, anything like that?
Well, before I do that, let me throw you a word of promotion. When I consulted you, I think it was about a year ago when I was chauffeuring, I had spent, and I like to do my own taxes, but mainly when I don't have a large income annually. Those years I like to do my own taxes. It only takes 10 hours. But I've used many of the professional services over the years and paid well for them. But when I talk to you, I get a very quick answer that's usually dead on. That's what I like about your service. So let me talk about my most recent book in 2020, which is this book here. I'm going to hold it up to the screen. It's the one about driving safety based upon high skills as a driver. It's about 200 pages, and because I was a chauffeur for about 4 years, and during that time I was observing many times common errors that were being made over and over again. I decided to put those into the book. And then when I finished that book, which was called The Careless Driver, I then said to myself, you know what, it's not just enough to point out the wrongnesses or the misjudgments that make people do things crazy on interstates and the surface roads. I need to put something out there that tells people what they should do to become expert drivers. So I wrote this book, The Careful versus The Careless Driver, and that came out in February of this year.
Excellent. Well, all right.
Eventually, even after this troublesome time, we're all going to be going somewhere, sometime in a car. That's our lives, So that's why I think it's a good thing, and I think it'll be very successful.
Well, I think people generally can agree that other drivers could be improved. Now, they may not agree that they can be improved, but you look around, everybody, like any city that you're in, people discuss about how bad the drivers are here. And I've discovered that's true. I'm in Las Vegas right now, where my main office is, but they said it in Los Angeles, they said it in Florida, and I hear about how bad it is in New York and Minnesota and Louisiana. Every place they think that they have the worst drivers, but I think I think there are bad drivers everywhere personally, but anyway, that's good. I'm glad to hear about that book. Anything else you would like to mention here in today's interview?
Well, nobody out there probably knows this, but I'm also a screenwriter. I'd like to get that out, and I hope to do. I've studied the subject and am continuing to study the subject as I write the second of my screenplays. I've already written one based on the novel, Exiled to Earth. It's a 400-page novel. It's been out about 5 years. And
Exiled to Earth. That sounds like a nasty place to be sent to.
Yeah, truthfully, I agree. It's definitely a good read because there's several 5-star and 4-star reviews on Amazon, so I know it has had an impact. And as I was saying, this has been made into a rather lengthy motion picture screenplay. I might cut it into 3 different films and actually make it like a series or a TV miniseries because it's so long. But that one, I've learned how to do a screenplay, and now I'm learning the art and craft of getting a screenplay written so that it appeals to Hollywood producers and studios. It's one thing to write a screenplay based on what you've already written, and then it's one to write a screenplay for either a TV series or for a specific audience that will buy tickets to see. 2 different animals.
Well, I'm going to tell you a story that you might find interesting. And I talked to a guy a few years ago, and he wrote, a book, and then they wanted to make into a screenplay, and he kept moving up the hierarchy of like how you get this work. And he found out that in the bottom line, you have a production company that takes a screenplay, they go to a banker, and the banker says yes or no. And if the banker says yes, you're in business. The banker said no, it's all you're nothing's going to happen, right? And
Yeah.
there's all these intermediate steps. I remember you described them to me. I don't remember them all. But his conclusion and what he did is he formed a production company. And then he went to the banker and he was able to get his and other people's screenplays published because he just said that, the yes or no comes right at that point. When you walk that screenplay in or whatever, and you go and you're a production company, you say, we want to produce this, and the banker says yes, then you've got a production, and you've got a screenplay, it's going to be played. And if the banker says no, you go to another banker. But it was an interesting view. I laughed my head off. Anyway, I thought I would mention that to you.
Good story, and very true. There is a hierarchy, which I've learned by studying the good screenplays and the screenwriters out there. Yeah, you're right. That's how it works.
And the key thing, I have a little bit of sales background, is you want to figure out who you can close, because it doesn't really matter if you close a bunch of people. You have to close somebody who's either going to make the decision or is going to influence the decision maker significantly. So I would imagine with a screenplay, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can write a great screenplay, but if you don't know how to market it, you can sit with it for years and years and years, and nothing comes of it.
I'll give you an example. You've probably heard of John Grisham, right?
Oh yeah.
His first book, which is now became a major motion picture, was A Time to Kill. It sold 5,000 copies. No big deal. He was a lawyer. He wasn't going to make enough money off 5,000 copies to quit being a lawyer, right?
Right.
His next book was The Firm, and that hit it off, at which point Time to Kill became a bestseller and also got its own movie. So it's a real interesting point of that great book. I've read it. It was a great book. A Time to Kill. I love that book. Very, very good. Lots of great books by John Grisham. I've read them all. But that book, as good as it was, it could have just died off at 5,000 copies and never been seen again, unless somehow he'd managed to get the next book. Somehow it got made into a movie, and suddenly there's all these John Grisham movies. Every time he writes a book, it sells millions of copies.
Right.
That first sale could be a big deal.
True. Well, if my ultimate success comes, it'll come because I keep writing and producing and getting out my books published everywhere I can, on Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, on my website, on Smashwords. It takes a flurry of good promotion persistently to get the attention of enough people to where someone will say, you know what, I'll buy that screenplay, or this could be turned into a movie. That's what it takes.
That's interesting that you say that. I've been studying up on my search engine optimization, and my favorite guru is a guy named Neil Patel. And he has some of the best content that, very fast, live content, and he just shooting it out there. Here, do this. If you do it this way, it'll succeed. Very sensible, very practical. And one interesting data from him is that he talked about the fact that how the importance of really high quality content. And you look at his content, you can see it's really high quality. Yeah. It resonates well. He spent 20% of his time writing the content and 80% of his time promoting that content. Now, probably gotten up to the point now where a lot of the promotion is pretty automatic or whatever, but it's an interesting view because not only, you could write the greatest novel ever and it's no guarantee of success. So you have to also guarantee how to promote that greatest novel ever. Or the guy who writes a decent novel promotes it well. We have a lot of novels that you see out there that aren't that good, but those guys are still, driving their fancy Mercedes and living in their mansions, so it's an interesting thing. Anyway, as you can tell, I'm a proponent of proper promotion. Anything else you'd like to say to our viewers before we end off, Mr. VanHeyden?
No, but I just saw a new series on TV, and it said something about we're tired of the quarantine. So the whole theme of this new series this year is, let's get out and live and forget about this thing, which has just been dragged on and dragged through the media, and let's just live.
You know, that's a very legitimate point. And thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.